profusely, and it's a bit like playing in Kolkata. So I never like playing with long shirts, but all of a sudden when you sweat a lot and you've got that G factor around, what you want to do is try and minimise the sweat coming onto your hands. So I used to try and wear long sleeves in those conditions, right down to the knuckle. What do you call that? The knuckle bone on your wrist. That would be right, yeah. Knuckle bone on your wrist.
Right.
But I also used to have a little sweatband under there as well. I hated sweatbands. I don't like the look of sweatbands, but I needed it to try and do everything I possibly could to keep the sweat off this hand. You see a lot of bowlers put the hand in the dirt. For me, when I put my hand on the dirt, that made things a little slipperier and I couldn't get the grip on the ball. So I really needed to wipe my hands on the rag, which you have to get used to. And a lot of people say, bring the dew in. Well, we're professional athletes. You go in and you train in those particular conditions. You prepare for it. And the better teams are the ones that don't look at the negative side of things and say, oh, well, it was due. No, we've got to look for the answers to find a way to make sure that we're on top of the game. And the way that you do that is make sure you dominate in the power play when the ball's coming on when you bat first, to try and limit the dominance that the opposition team get to go with that first innings, where they can bowl a lot of slower balls where pace doesn't come in the back end of the of your first innings, because you know that in the back end of the second innings, with the ball skidding on, you can't bowl those slower balls. So they're the areas where you've got to take a few different risks in your batting lineup. Prepare to lose a couple of wickets in the power play batting first, to get that momentum with the likes of Pant and Jadeja in the back end. So for me, batting wise, I thought India were trying to be aggressive at the start to counteract that. But just losing the wicket of Pant in that middle overs was probably the crucial time, and not getting their bowling right in the second innings was really the summed up everything that India just got things tactically wrong.
And of course, India started really trying to chase the game, probably, certainly after the 10th over, because at 9 for 71, the game was really slipping away there. And I think, they went chasing wickets, each bowler, because wickets become crucial to try to pick up a wicket, which means new batsmen and hopefully slowing things down. And of course, that would seem to be Pakistan's weakness, in terms of the depth of the batting line. They've got some experience, as you said, with Hafiz and Malik, and they didn't play the young bloke Hayder, which I thought they might have done, but nonetheless, we didn't see that anyway. Didn't need it, but the runs just kept flowing as India kept trying to chase the game. But let's just move forward a little bit.
Sorry, John. You brought up a good point. There's your little stat sheet back there, and it's got the fielding and all that. Now you're talking about chasing the game. How do you pick up wickets? You don't. You go to your strengths and keep the pressure on. You don't chase wickets. You hear the commentators say, "All right, we've got to set the fielders up. We've got to get wickets." Well, the way you get wickets is build pressure. Don't allow the opposition to score the boundaries. And the other thing is too, we talked about South Africa being nervous about Australia. If you looked at the Indian change room, Boomerang. He was nervous. Rohit Sharma's body language is a little bit different in the dressing room as well. He was standing and moving around a lot more than normal after he got out. So you could just see that the pressure was on the Indian players as well. So I thought Pakistan bowling first not only was a good tactic because of the conditions, but just to be able to calm the players down.
Yeah, get into the game. That's for sure. A 10-wicket win, which firstly, that, as everybody knows now, that Pakistan hadn't beaten India in an ICC World Cup event for some 12 games or so, and for a long period of time, and now it's I think Pakistan's first ever 10-wicket win. So where to from here? I mean, I know it's the first game of the tournament, and in that pool, it would seem Pakistan, India, New Zealand are the three leading teams. It's a bit hard to see Afghanistan or Scotland or Namibia really challenging those three. So it really possibly sets up the India-New Zealand game as real blockbuster when that one's, I think, about a week away or so.
Yeah, look, it'd be the India-Pakistan game, which
India-New Zealand game, the next.
Oh, India-New Zealand game, yeah. Look, for me, that's going to be a real blockbuster. But New Zealand are a big issue for Pakistan in 2 days' time. This is one issue I've got with the ICC. They have not planned this tournament well. They've put Pakistan on the back foot. They've played in Dubai in a night game in tough conditions. Now they've got to travel to Sharjah in a bus for an hour or two today and play New Zealand tomorrow. So they've got 2 big games in 3 days, and then they've got Afghanistan in another 2 days' time after that. So what is it, in 6 days or in 5 days, they've got 3 games against 3 of the top players. They don't play one of the associate nations. So the ICC have got a lot to answer for with that fixturing of Pakistan. With all the energy that Pakistan had last night, that 2-day turnaround to play against New Zealand in Sharjah, where there's slightly different conditions as well. They might have used up a lot of energy there, so New Zealand can capitalise on that. And New Zealand, I think, out of all the Western nations, are probably the most adaptable nation going around at the present moment. They've got a lot of fight in there. They really prepare well. So this is probably the harder group out of the 2. So for me, the biggest worry right now for Pakistan is this New Zealand game. India have got a lot of time to prepare for New Zealand down the track. They can sum up what's just happened and recalibrate. And sometimes when you've had a loss like that and a big loss, you just need that little bit of time just to get everyone to cool the heels, because it's such an emotional game. But I didn't see it as a blowout game. I just thought the game was on the line all the time, even in the last 15 overs when Pakistan were batting. That pressure on the batsmen to come in next, I just thought India were always in the game right to the end.
Yeah, no, that's, again, very, very good observation. And speaking of the Pakistan unit and maybe the composure in their batting lineup and the way they went about their task, do you think our old mate Matthew Hayden, who's currently their batting coach, might have something to say about all that?
Yeah, look, I think Pakistan have been playing good cricket over the last couple of years, and they've had that T20 national tournament just before they got over there. So they've had a lot of preparation, and you can see in their fitness, their agility in the field, that they have worked on their weaknesses. And I don't know whether that was Mickey Arthur beforehand or the previous coach that they had. And, for someone like Matthew Hayden to come in and have he's only been with them for a couple of days, it's very hard to make a huge impact in that particular scenario. I think he'd
be claiming it. I think he'd be claiming it.
He'll be claiming it. I think the big factor that Matthew Hayden would have had in there wouldn't be so much technically or tactically. What he would have done would be emotionally, with all the experience that he's had with Australia playing against England in one-day cricket and the Ashes series, those big matches, how to calm the farm as such. So if I look at both teams, Pakistan, surprisingly, were more in control of their emotions than India, and I reckon that's where Matthew Hayden had the biggest impact in that particular scenario. Yes, he would have had a small impact with the batting strategy and everything like that, but emotions was the one that was going to be the big factor for both teams to win that particular game yesterday.
Yeah. So on that, is Chennai Super Kings captain Mahendra Dhoni is sitting in the Indian dressing room, and that's what I see his role to be as well, that calming influence, settling everybody down. So you think that's a pretty important role for him for that Indian team right at the moment?
Oh, definitely. And look, you know yourself, John. Once you've gone through all the emotions of a big tournament with the T20, the 50-over World Cups that we've had, you do all that preparation. But on the day, you can't control player emotion and what's going through their body throughout the day. It doesn't matter who you've got around in those sheds. It's just one of those things. And I was just looking out Pakistan. They just seem cool, calm, collect. They've got nothing to lose really, because they haven't won a game against India in a World Cup fixture, whereas India had everything to lose, and you could just see that pressure on them, and they just weren't able to control it. And I just think it was a perfect setup for Pakistan, and I just felt the tide had to change. Yeah. And look. When you bring up Matthew Hayden, it's always great to have that little accolade there. But the whole thing about it is Pakistan have been put on the back foot with New Zealand not going over there, England not going over there. They do everything they possibly can to get any nation to go over there and play. The security was over the top for New Zealand, and they still left, and they still came out and did what they did in this particular fixture, and that's what I've really enjoyed about this. They've gone through all that adversity, and they've come out on centre stage and performed in one of the biggest fixtures. And I think we've got to respect Pakistan in that regard.
Yep, too right, Brad. Well, look. Thank you again very much for all your expert insights to the two games.
I've learned them all off you, Johnny.
Thanks very much, but I think you've got plenty up your sleeve. Now that you've got long sleeves, you've even got more up those sleeves.
But I don't know, but I still love this, mate. Still love this.
Few stat sheets. Anyway, look, it's been great chatting, mate. Look, it's going to be, as always, an incredible tournament. T20 cricket, anything can happen, as we know. One player, one ball can really make an impact on the game. So I thank you for joining us. Looks like you want to say something before we close up.
No. I'm still in an emotional roller coaster ride with it last night. Yeah, I just I loved it. And the other thing that it showed, the excitement of the game, the build-up of the game, just shows that there could be too much cricket being played around the world. Two teams don't play each other that often, and when they do, there's so much excitement. And I just think sometimes less is more, and the ICC probably might need to look at that, and other cricket boards around the world.
You nailed that right on the head. I'm very much a fan of less is more. Although, as you say, there's a limited amount of time in the calendar. And of course, the world has moved towards, the shorter formats of the game, the T20s and all the leagues and so on. But yes, if somehow that can be reduced, but it's going to put a squeeze on the longer form. But to some degree, that might really help Test cricket, provided that the powers that be don't fiddle around with the rules of the longer game and try to make it look like a shorter game. We need to keep all those formats quite distinct and quite differentiated. And I think that might be a real saviour for Test cricket going forward. But that might be for another time and another discussion, Brad. So, look, thank you very much once again. It's been a great pleasure having you here for these two games. And just a final reminder to everybody that please send in your questions. We'll adjudicate on which might be the best question that we can answer then, that we can bring to the table with our experts. So remember those links. Reach us at adsguru.com.au. That's where you go, and that's where you get a chance to win those valuable prizes. So thank you once again, Brad. It's been a great pleasure having you on.
Thanks very much, John. Look after yourself, mate. Have a good day.
You too.
You're looking younger every day.